My name is Sarah Boyce. I was born and raised in Vandalia, Missouri.
My name is Kenny Boyce. I was born in Lovell, Wyoming. We met in college at Truman State University in Kirksville, Missouri, the Baptist Student Union. And as I would tell the story, she started flirting with me a little bit, inviting me over for dinner, and I kind of like that. We started hanging out more often.
Yes. So Kenny started making excuses for coming around to hang out with me, and I was just like, well, if you're here, I've got to feed you. I grew up in a small town with Southern hospitality. I might mention things that I would be cooking in the future and telling him that I guess if you're around, I'll have to feed it to you, so stop by. Well, we got married at Southside Baptist Church in Vandalia, Missouri.
So I had planned to go to Fuller Theological Seminary, and Sarah and I had just gotten married, and I was happy that she was going to accompany me on this journey.
We both had degrees hot off the presses, and then that kind of feeling about, well, what's next after you graduate? And I was so grateful to have a really cool what's next. The building up of leaving Missouri was a whole lot of figuring things out and planning where we were going to live and how we were going to get there, and then it kind of just came down to loading up our stuff in the car and heading out into the literal Wild West of America.
We packed up literally everything we had in the car. The car was mostly weighed down with books. Yeah, we just drove halfway across the country. It was a grand adventure.
I remember we listened to the audio version of The Hobbit. It felt like we were on an adventure along with them.
We were married and completely on our own in a small little apartment. Sometimes that was scary, but it was also kind of thrilling, I thought.
We were poor. First holiday season, I worked at Target before I finally got a good job at an art studio. Yeah, working at Target and trying to figure out life together in a tiny apartment. There were so many months where we did not have as much money coming in as our rent that was going out.
We got to do a lot of exploring. We got to go to the beach. We got to go explore Hollywood. We saw areas in Los Angeles where movies had been shot. There was a good atmosphere in Los Angeles, a kind of live and let live atmosphere, a lot of diversity.
Walking along the boardwalk, we could walk from Malibu to Santa Monica and see all the street performers and all the kiosks and to sell all the things that they were making and what they were doing. It was so fun. Every Friday there was a food truck that would park right outside our building, and it was Mexican food, but you could get the best French fries still to this day that I've ever eaten. We had very lovely Korean students who would very often bring us all kinds of delicious baked goods and treats. And Pasadena, where we lived, there's a large Armenian population, and there were bakeries everywhere in Pasadena, and people would very often bring baklava and all kinds of goodies and treats, and those were things I really looked forward to at work. They were amazing.
One time we were on a walk on campus, and we turn a corner, and there are some people washing an elephant. Some people dressed out in very traditional Indian dress washing an elephant. And then we walked along and we heard some bagpipes playing, and we looked off in the distance and there was a man in full Scottish garb wearing a kilt and everything, just bellowing out on those bagpipes. And then we turned in another direction and walked past a room on campus, and inside the room there was an African, I think perhaps a congregation. They were celebrating and dancing, wearing traditional African dress. In the course of a single walk, we saw 3 different cultures represented. That was a very memorable experience.
I probably learned more Spanish going to the Mexican grocery stores than I ever learned in a classroom. Co-workers and I occasionally, we would just walk over to Little Tokyo, and one time we just had sushi. I never, ever in my life, I was born and raised in the middle of Missouri, had never had sushi. I had never experienced anything like that before. I could not believe that had existed my whole life, and nobody had ever told me how amazing it was.
Yeah, it was amazing. It wasn't just about the experience experience of eating the sushi either, but about the experience of being in this Japanese cultural area. It was a sort of experience that it's hard for me to imagine having again outside of that kind of a context. I think it was an amazing time in our life. I think it helped us unite together as a couple. It gave us an adventure right at the beginning of our marriage.
I'm really grateful for the opportunity we had. I wouldn't change any of it.